Peace, everybody. It's Moon Sahana coming at you from 7 degrees, Central Pennsylvania. Wondering why the heck am I still here instead of over in Bahamas, my other ancestry land. But anyhow, I wanted to share something with you. Do not mind my laundry in the back seat there. My grandchildren's car seats are in the back, and that's best I could do. I couldn't hide it. But oh shoot. All right now. So I wanted to share something that I recalled today, a memory. So my son, Two Clouds, my first true love, I had him when I was 19 years old, and as I've said in other videos, I prayed and prayed and begged for him, and Creator sent him to me. It was the best thing that had ever happened to me and could have ever happened to me, and I was stoked. And so, you know, we got here. Oh man, all I did was hold that baby. Hold him and nurse him and swaddle him and just love on him like crazy. And you know, the older women sometimes, or not even my peers sometimes, they're like, you want to spoil that baby? You put that baby down. See, I come from, my mama was the same way with me, and so, you know, I know a lot of people aren't affectionate in those ways, but I was. And so I'm 19, loving my life because I have this beautiful child, and come, you know, 6 weeks, I have to take him to the pediatrician for a checkup. And so I do that. I had this really good African gynecologist, and you know, he told me to go to this pediatrician, so that's what I did. They didn't have groups back then, like medical groups that I know of anyway. And so, but that's essentially what this was, a group. They had their, each of them had their business, I don't know, I can't think right now. They had their businesses or their offices in this big house. And so I just did what I was told and went to him, and you know, he's checking the baby and everything, and he looks at me and he says, like, did you beat this baby? I'm like, what? I'm like, no, I didn't beat the baby. And he's like, are you sure? So I said, yeah, I'm sure. So he points, and he, you know, to Two Clouds is like sacral area. And so I said, like, yeah, it's not dawning on me because I've been seeing it the whole time. And so he's like, you know, what's this and everything. So I'm like, I don't know, it's just him, you know. And so he's kind of looking at me weird and everything. And then I'm like, is he like pranking me? Like, I don't understand. And so what's going on is this area on Two Clouds is, again, his sacral area, and it looks like a bruise, but nobody is saying anything to me about it. So let me give a little bit of backstory about myself if you don't know. I am the eldest of my mother's children. I'm the eldest of 7. And so, you know, as all, you know, the firstborn child, especially if you're a girl, you pretty much become like mommy junior. And so I used to help out like a whole lot with the children, you know, rearing them, changing them, feeding them, all that kind of thing. And I had never seen that before, but I had people around me who didn't say anything about it. It was no big deal. It was just like, so I'm like, okay, it's no big deal. He just has this colored area there. But so the doctor says that and everything, and it's really wigging me out because as I've spoken about in other videos, I and my siblings, those 6 siblings, we all aged out of what was called DIFAS back in the day in New Jersey, which stood for Division of Youth and Family Services. And so my mother was a great mom. She didn't do anything like abusive or anything of that sort. But a certain belief used to get mad at people, and what she would do is call DIFAS on them and tell them lies that it wasn't just us. It was like people, her family, neighbors. Like, she was notorious for doing this, which I don't know why nobody ever called on her. She was abusive to her kids. But so she called, you know, she got mad at my stepdad and called DIFAS. DIFAS came in, and even though like I was there when the first lady came there to check out the allegations, even though she didn't find anything, like they didn't, the woman who made these allegations didn't say that my mother was hitting us or anything. She said that we didn't have any food or any clothes, like, ever. And so when the woman came there, I remember my mother saying, like, no food, and like opening the cupboards, and she's like, I have food for them, and like no clothes, and like her opening the closets and everything and saying, like, you know, what do you mean, like, I have clothes for them, you know? And I distinctly remember the woman telling her, like, you know, being very apologetic, and she said, you know, I understand. And because of course my mom told her like what the deal was, like, this chick, this is what she does. And so she said, you know, she understood. She was, you know, very apologetic, and she said, but she just had to follow protocol. I distinctly remember that because that's the first time I can recall ever hearing the word protocol. And so her chick who called and other women throughout my life is why I am not one of those people who are like, always believe what a woman says. Hell no, there's some evil ass women out there in the world. But anyway, me going to this doctor with my baby, him saying that, I'm panicking because I'm like, yo, y'all not taking my baby. And so, you know, I'm like worried about that and everything. And on top of that, I didn't vaccinate. I raised all my children without vaccinations. And so, you know, I'm just like a little on edge and everything. But he finishes the examination, you know, we leave and everything. And, you know, I go and I tell Tu's dad what was said, and we're just like, what? I keep bugging out and all this kind of stuff. But that was that. So about a couple of years later, I'm with this woman who, she's an older woman compared to me. She's in her 40s. a baby compared to me now. But, you know, she and I used to hang together. She was also Afro-Indigenous. We used to go to powwows and stuff like that. And so she sees Two Clouds with like his clothes off. And she sees this mark because it's still there. She sees this mark and she says, you know, that mark right there, Native Americans have that mark. And that's how you can tell somebody's Indian. And I was like, you don't say. But it was just like, okay, matter of fact, they already know we're Indian, so okay. And so And you know, I'm the type of person, as I've said before, I like having evidence. I'm an evidence-based learner. And so I don't just take something, even though it may sound dope to me, or like whatever the information may be, I still prefer to have evidence-based if I can. So many years go by, and so I end up going to nursing school. And while we're doing, you know, learning about pediatrics, learning about babies and newborns and everything, sure enough, they have in the medical book, which I don't consider that. I know enough about Western medicine that I know everything that they say ain't right and exact. But nonetheless, in the book, you know, I'm carrying it from what my girl already told me years ago. And so they have in there about this mark that my son had. And it's called a Mongolian mark, or a Mongolian spot, or they have more, you know, more medical terms for it, like congenital, what do they call it? I forget what they call it now. Some sort of congenital melanosis, or sometimes it's called congenital cyanosis. And cyanosis is like when you turn blue. Like babies, you see babies are born, when they're newborns, a lot of the times they'll have bluish hands or bluish, you know, feet. Those go away. This particular mark, it eventually goes away, but not until the babies are like toddlers or so. So anyway, it talks about this Mongolian mark. And sure enough, it says that it is that only certain groups of people have it. So Native Americans, African Americans, and Mediterranean people. That's what it says in that book. But then, and you know, back then, didn't have a whole lot of stuff about this that I saw anyhow. Yeah. So, anyhow, nowadays, you can find like a whole lot about this, I don't even know what you want to call it. This mark, I'm just saying, this mark. And so, you know, that book said, again, African American, Native American, Mediterranean people have it. But then, because you wonder, like, well, why is it called Mongolian? You know what I mean? And so, some other doctors say, well, Native Americans and Asians have it. And then others include Hispanics, Latinos in that. And then, I don't know, I keep hearing more people at it. So East Indians, and then, you know, Africans, never Europeans. And so, I just found it really interesting. And then there is one doctor who, an Asian doctor, who I heard, she also said Native American, Asians, and I believe, yeah, and Hispanics. And she says, she even gave like a percentage to it. She said that about 90% of Native Americans have this Mongolian spot, and that I think 80% of Asians have it, which would make sense, that those two. And I think she said like 70% Hispanics. But when I think about, so this is only a you know, and analyzing for me, please do not use this as some sort of, you know, evidence or fact or anything like that. I'm only speaking what has come to mind as a question. But where it says in the book, the nursing book, where it says African American, I'm curious because a lot, not all, but a lot of people who identify or who are given the identity of African American actually have indigenous roots. My family being one of those people. And so I wonder if it is like Afro-Indigenous people who have this mark. I'm not sure. So that was, you know, I found that to be curious because it says in there African American specifically, not African, but African American. African Americans, like it a lot, African Americans are a mixed race people. I know folks like to think they're only African, or got some who think they're only indigenous, or like whatever. But African Americans by default are mixed race people. And I mean, it can run the gamut. Triracial, biracial, what have you. And so, and even if somebody was to be like whatever 98% African or whatever the case is, those groups of African would still be nuanced. So, you know, you might have some Arab in there, some Hungarian, what have you. So yeah, but I just thought it was really interesting. And something funny, I remember my instructor, my nursing instructor, she was a little bit wild, but I remember her joking about it when we were going over that lesson. And she said, yeah, that's why whenever we have a white woman that has a baby and baby have that mark, we know that man sitting there with her ain't that baby daddy. But I just thought that would be really interesting to talk about, and maybe give y'all some incentive to go on ahead and check that out. There are, you know, various ways to people, you know, people think like, you know, a broad nose or fine hair or, you know, thin lips or thick lips or, you know, different textures of hair or, you know, like all these different things, pigmentation or, you know, lack thereof in the skin and all that are surefire ways to tell what group that a person belongs to, and it's just not. But there are some things that narrow it down way. And, you know, like shovel teeth from Native Americans. Over 90% of Native Americans have shovel teeth. And, you know, Mongolian spots is another way, I guess. So 90% is not 100%, but it's pretty close. So, all right, peace. That might be something that y'all want to check out a little bit more, just for your own, you know, for your own file.